Yeah, I think it'll be good to have a recording of this conversation.
Okay, yes, we're recording now. And this is, we unschool at my house too. I do some direct instruction for what I need to, because in our state, we do have to do the end of year test starting when they're 7 years old every year thereafter. Now, the test scores stay with us in this state. Some states have to turn them in and things, but just since they have to do that, we do certain things. But like my son is, he just turned 8 and our daughter's 11. And so my son, he thought that he may have found the meteorite recently. And so a few weeks ago, he was so excited. And he's like, I think I found a meteorite. And he, all these science books, so he knew they would be magnetic and stuff. And so he found this little magnetic rock. And so we got in touch with a person who works at the university, and that's like her specialty. And she agreed to let us go there, and she checked it with her special magnifying glass, and it was not a meteorite, but it was magnetite, a magnetic rock. And but then she took us around for hours and showed us all of these, showed us some true meteorites and all of these gems and all kinds of things. And so, like you're saying about like with the moon and all that stuff, yes, that's how I'm thinking.
That's like a dream day for me. Seriously, that's like a dream day. I'm so envious. but exactly, like really helping parents understand that children have this innate natural scientific mind. They're explorers. They're eager to learn. They're eager to explore their environment. They want to learn. And if we could just get out of the way and stop dictating what children should learn, so that we can create what we want them to be, and just be present, aware, and just be like, okay, these are my teachers. What resources do I need to surround them with? These are the little bits of wisdom that we can combine and show parents, and how much happier children are when we just naturally let them manifest. And that curiosity come, just happier, more joyful children, because they're not confined. We're celebrating that exploration that they have. We're celebrating their diversity. We're celebrating their uniqueness and what they're interested in, instead of forcing them into a box. So children are naturally happier and kinder and more in their heart. So we need to show parents that this is the way. And all parents want their children to be successful and happy. Let's change the story of what success looks like.
Right. See, right now we are in this competitive environment where you have to rank kids, and who's better than who, and based on that, they get rewarded. So that entire system that's built around training our children to become, good workers in the industrial civilization, right? We have to just flip it around on its head. And now we are saying we are going to celebrate diversity. And then children can then pick and choose what do they want to contribute towards. And so based on their curiosity and their aptitude. So there is no set, graduation, so to speak, right? As to, you reach this level of understanding of something. But do we need that?
Right, exactly. And we want children to really stay in that divine kind of naivete, understanding that they'll never know enough. They'll never have enough, and that humility to want to explore as much as you can in this lifetime, because it's limited, and the universe and wisdom is vast and it's unlimited. So we want that curiosity always, so that adults can carry that in. What don't I know? How didn't I know that? I want to learn more, and have that curiosity so we can awaken the inner child in people to get out of that box that they're in, and maybe explore a new way, make it fun, make it interesting. I think we really have to also focus on play. Children are not playing enough. Not only are children not in nature, but they're not playing enough. And I think we really have to get out of the confines of what play looks like. Parents want to buy things and they get mad that the children play with the boxes. Give the child a box. If the child wants to play with boxes and caps and shoelaces, play in their mind, they're not shoelaces. In their mind, they're not boxes. So we need to get out of how we see the world and just be open to play and encourage parents to play with their children, to remember what play looks like, and create spaces where children can come together and play without adult intervention. We need to let children play without adult intervention and adult ideals and basically goals. We just need them to just go and let them, and just give them a safe space where they can create their own play, and they can also figure out their own conflict. Let's just be supervisors there and guides, and create safe spaces for children to just play. I think that's so important, not only emotionally, but honestly, that's how they discover also and explore and build trust. And discover their own innate talents and skills. How do they fit into the group? What do I have to contribute? And if we can maintain the consciousness of children, create those learning environments that are natural and play, and conscious parents, a vegan world's right around the corner. I know it. I know it. It's about the kids.
Yes, it is. So some things that I wrote down, like some of my list of things I don't think are right about the current parenting practices. So the punishments, I think there should be no punishments. We're on the same page with that? Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
No, no, I just don't, I can't even stand the name for this, the cry it out method of, have you heard of this? The cry it out method for babies, where people actually just put their babies down in the crib and have them cry infinitely until they're asleep. No.
That is so disturbing on so many levels. It's not
I know, really. No rewards. Should not be rewards, I think. Agree. There's a lot of suppression of feelings. We talked about this, Silesh, another day, about, I hear that a lot, like in the library, because my kids love to go to the library, and my daughter gets many, many books all the time. She reads a whole ton, and because she wants to, and she gets as many books as she wants. That's another thing, because I hear a lot of parents at the library, you can't get that book. You can't get this. That book's too hard for you. That book's too easy for you. You can only get one book. You can only get 2 books. And we get, my kids have 20 books, whatever at home. We've gotten, we've reached our 99 limit on one card multiple times. So then we, use another one of our cards, because you have to use the second card once you get 99. But suppression of feelings, because at the library, a lot of times there are parents in there with their kids in the room where they're doing like a story time or something with these very young toddlers and babies, and they don't want to do that, or they don't want to do that for as long. And then the parents will bring them out when they're crying and tell them, stop crying, be quiet, stop crying, don't cry. And so the suppression of feelings. I assume y'all are going to tell me, wait a minute, stop if you don't agree with something that I say.
Remember, I'm a certified conscious parenting coach. So this is everything this is completely in line with what I would coach parents.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Scheduling for parents, because I think tons of, like how, Jackie, you're talking about the play, well, on Monday you have ballet, on Tuesday you have ice skating, on Wednesday you have soccer, on Thursday
Right.
all the time is scheduled. You go to school, and then you come home, and then you go somewhere else, and then you go to bed. Deciding what kids will do, when they can do it, how they can do it, how to do everything, so like you're talking about, like with the toys. Well, here you hand them the new toy, or the toys or whatever. You don't have to show them how to use it. Just let them, and if they want to know how to use the toy or make something and want your help, then they can ask for your help, and I've heard people, no, that's not that's not a boat, that's a bowl, it's a boat. If it's a boat, it's a boat. The disrespect, not teaching them nonviolent communication, screen time, because from my research, it's really not good for children, especially under 5, to have screen time. Like, no. And I know a lot of people will say, I try not to let my kids have much screen time, you know. How do you have to try not to?
Try.
They just don't have a screen.
Yeah.
That's it. And then, does anybody have any more nots to add to that list? We don't for parenting.
No, it brought up a couple of things. I don't know if they fall into the not or the do's.
Okay.
But when you were talking about, I completely am in line with the punitive nature of parenting needs to like go back into the arcade, like ancient, like because that's also part of the authoritarian system. It's also part of the hierarchical system, and no rewards, but there is consequences. And I think that's where I think we really need to talk about how we help parents when we tell them what's not, what really is unhealthy behaviors and interactions with our children, help them understand why they're unhealthy and why they are choosing to do those things, how these are conditioned ways of parenting, and help them be in tune with their intuitive response, help them reconnect with their children so they understand consequences are not, well, if you cursed at mom, well, you don't get your car keys. Well, that's not a natural consequence. That's an authoritarian consequence. The natural consequence would be, well, if you're going to speak to me like that, you can cook your own meal. You can, take care of yourself. And we don't have to speak until you figure out how it is that you need to talk to somebody that cares about you and respects you and would never disrespect you like that. Like to help parents find that, because basically what happens is parents get activated. Something triggers inside of them, and now they're reacting to the trigger and not the child. And we have to help parents understand that behaviors are communications. And why is my child behaving this way? Why is my child choosing to talk to me in this manner? What is going on underneath the surface that's causing this behavior? And then that eliminates the parent, because now you're looking at the hurt and the pain or the fear of the child rather than what they're doing and now how that affects me, because then it goes right back to me. And rewards and punishment is all about, did you make the parent feel good? I'm so proud of you. Or did you make me feel really bad because you made me feel disrespected? So everything is about the parent. It's very parent focused and parent centric. And we have to change that paradigm to be all about the child and child centric. That's why I wanted to add about the consequences. Help parents understand that doesn't mean that, well, the child gets to just choose everything in the house. No, there's natural consequences, because that's our role as parents, is to teach them how to function in the world, how it works, and give them the tools and the parameters of what's healthy and unhealthy. So natural consequences is a part of that. You put your hand on the stove, you get burned. What's a natural consequence of this kind of behavior? If you were at your work, you'd be fired. I can't fire you, but I cannot talk to you.
I wouldn't do the not talk to you. So what I would do, let's say if my kids wouldn't do that, I don't think. Well, if they
no,
say,
I'm talking about teenagers, older
teenagers.
teens. Yeah, because
Okay.
my kids are like now just adults.
Yeah.
So, but they would never talk to me like that. But to help parents that do, we're walking into situations that really maybe are not as learned or as experienced as we have been in this field, and they may have these conflicts come up. How do we help them understand? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Parents that maybe are vegans and wanting to bring veganism into the home, but they're getting pushback from their teens. And so there may be conflict. How do we help them? Like conflict resolution. It's a huge, huge one.
I would never do that. I wouldn't talk to you, though. To me, that's kind of like the cry it out method for an older person, or a timeout. Like if you say, well, if you talk to me that way, then I won't talk to you. I wouldn't do that. I would say, like in nonviolent communication, Dr. Rosenberg's methods, he talks about like saying, it's like a 3-part thing. Because I talk to my kids about this, like if they don't like something, the other one does, like, well, you're mean. Well, instead of saying that, you can say, the first is, when whatever the thing is, it makes me feel however it makes them feel. And so I would appreciate it if you could try not to do that anymore, please. You know, so like if one, let's say if some child somewhere snatches another child's book, you know, instead of snatching it back or whatever the thing, they could say, you know, be coached into how to do that 3-part thing of like, when you snatch the book away from me, it makes me feel like you don't care that I was looking at the book. It makes me sad. And so could you please not snatch the book away from me? You know, so I just personally, I wouldn't do I won't talk to you or I won't fix your dinner or that kind of stuff, because to me, that's sort of like a timeout. And for time, it's like the love stops now in a way, because
oh no, there's got to be this is different when, especially when we're talking about older children that are crossing boundaries. As parents, we have to put up boundaries, and I think that's I've studied that method with part of my training, and I think especially for younger children, that really works. But if you're talking about older children that are going through their own changes, and there's certain boundaries that as parents, we're going to have very fluid boundaries all the time. Okay, so you're 15 minutes late. No, I'm not going to take the car away. Like, those are fluid boundaries. We get to choose those. But then and they should be very limited, but there's certain boundaries that should not be crossed as a parent and child relationship. And those boundaries have to stay firm. And it's chosen with each family. You know, some families maybe don't lie. You know, that's a boundary that, you know, is going to cause a lot of conflict, you know, and every family is different. So that's why I think we have to really kind of be sympathetic and empathetic to like the different family dynamics that are going to come in. And when you have, especially teenagers that are that resistant and kind of cross certain boundaries, then as parents, it is okay to say, I would never remove my love for you ever. I love you. I love you so much. It hurts so much that you talk to me this way. And until you realize that talking to me this way makes me feel so hurt, then I'm going to take a break, because mom needs to process this. Mom needs to deal with the hurt that you just caused. And if that means that you're going to have to fix your own dinner tonight, then I'm sorry, because you really hurt my feelings and I need time for myself. That's the kind of language I'm talking about. I just said it very succinctly because we were talking, but if I was talking to parents, that's what I would advise them to do, is to not stand your ground, but to really humble yourself and to show your children that, you know what, there's consequences. You hurt me, and I don't deserve that. And right now I need my own space, you know, and have parents have that power and not equate it to removing love, because they do. And then they feel guilty. So then they don't do it, because I don't want my kids to think I don't love them anymore. But there is, because we have to teach children, when you go out into the world, you just can't say whatever you want. You just can't do whatever you want, you know? And especially, again, with the communities that I deal with, we have to teach them this resilience, that there's a language that we speak, that you can stand your ground in agency and have boundaries and healthy boundaries. But you don't have to separate. You don't have to disconnect. But you do have to maintain your own sovereignty and your own safe space. And it's just part of it. And I think that's why parents go right to punishment or right to rewards, because those are external and, you know, motivations. And we want children to have intrinsic motivation. We want children to motivate themselves out of love and compassion, who they really are. No child wants to know they hurt their parent. You know, no child wants. They just want to get fixed, because they just want to get that, whatever their anger out, they just want to get it out. And they want the parent to give them fodder so they can do that, you know? So I'm sorry I went off on a tangent, but it was like, I'm really big about the punishment and rewards things along with you. Really, that needs to go like away. And the cry it out also. I completely agree.
So would you say that nonviolent communication has to be something that you teach kids right at the outset?
I would say definitely yes. And I see what you're saying, Jackie, as far as now that sounds different than well, if you're going to talk to me that way, then I'm not going to talk to you, and I'm not going to fix you that.
I was just saying that for brevity purposes.
Yes. And that is different to say, you've really hurt my feelings. I don't think that I can talk to you right now because I need a break. And I don't know if I can fix your dinner right now because I need a break. I think that if we can teach parents the things that are in especially even too, I left my books across the room now where the computer was at the first place, but especially from 2 attachment parenting books and a couple of nonviolent communication books. I mean, it's simple. It's just 4 books really to encompasses so much, even really just 3 of them. It, I think, would really could get through to everyone in a way where then there wouldn't even probably be a need for them to feel so hurt, because they would be themselves a certain way and be understanding the other person in a certain way, that they would be able to react in a way where they wouldn't need to have that break, because they would know and understand things in a certain way where they wouldn't need that, I think. I mean, I could see it's possible, but I would say on a regular basis and in general, and probably almost all the time, I think that they probably wouldn't, because of their understanding of things in a certain way and just like a certain way of thinking about it. But I think that definitely, Silesh, that we would always use nonviolent communication and also teach that to everyone, to the children also. Okay.
And actually, if we watch children naturally are nonviolent communicators. So if we could teach to parents, is just teach them that language and help them recognize it in their children. You know, help them see. Children are naturally very compassionate. They're not born angry. That's adaptations. So really, we could help the parents understand it and then really help them foster it in children and nurture it in children, because they do naturally are very compassionate. I mean, my sister sent me a video today of this 3-year-old, and the mom was tricking him, and she was like, "I ate all your candy," and he was so upset. And then he looked at her and said, "Mommy, I'm not mad at you, Mommy. It's okay." And I was like, see, that's what we have to learn from children, just like, you know, with Kamaya, just learning from them. But I completely agree. There has to be a staple, because nonviolent communication is basically underscores everything else we're teaching them about the violence outside in the world, the violence with the neighbors. Everything starts there. So I think you're right. It has to be like the cornerstone is the nonviolent communication. And I think helping parents, that self-care for parents is so important. I think we need to help parents understand that self-care to alleviate that stress, how to deal with tension, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with, you know, struggling, because so much of it is the parents' unconsciousness, and they always want to do what's right and what's best. And it's easy to go back to the conditioning the way you were parented in times of stress. So how do we help parents not just do that in times of not stress, but how do we help them maintain that in times of stress or trauma or emergencies, to maintain that, so there's stability with the children, that no matter what's going on in the real world, my parents are always grounded, they're always connected, and sometimes they may go off somewhere, but there's a consistency and a stability in the home for the children. I think that's important too.
You're on mute, Silesh.
Yeah, as adults, we need to be deconditioned from what we have been taught so far. So there's a lab, I think in Georgia, where the professor was getting adults to come to class where there are children around, and then the role of the adults is to do whatever the children want. Okay, no questions. Just do whatever the children want.
That's what I do all day. Okay.
So this way the adults get deconditioned from what they have been taught, you know. Following, I mean, helping the children do what they want, right? In fact, this is what I do with Kimaya. That's how I learned a lot, is that I would do whatever she wanted.
I love it.
Okay, and that helped me. I began to see my own conditioning, you know, by doing that. My own conditioning on how we were taught to compete with each other, how we were taught to see things as normal when they're really violent, and we should have seen the violence. You know, those are the things that she taught me. because she doesn't like competition at all. Or she likes competition in which she wins.
That's true. I played Uno with her. That's true.
Yeah. So she, so for her, the rules and all don't matter. She just makes up rules as she goes along because whatever makes sense for her. So, but it helped me understand, that we were taught these things. We were taught to play these games so that one person loses. I mean, everybody loses except one person wins. And so everyone is unhappy except one person, this sort of thing, right? This is what we were taught all along. And this is how the world is, right? That's the world that we have created, right? But that's the conditioning that's necessary for this world that we are in, of competition. And for a vegan world, we really don't need to be conditioning kids like that, right? So, but for that, you need to decondition the parents first. So maybe we need to have schools like this, right? Where parents go and do whatever the children want at time like that.
Actually, there's a book, Jessica, have you heard of it? It's called, I'm looking at my library. I think it's called Playborhoods. And it's this man that went around and he's basically teaching people how to create houses, groups together to create play areas for children to come and just free play. And wouldn't that be amazing to do exactly what you two do and just invite people to just come in and just do that? And here, children are in charge. This is, Peter Pan, you do whatever the children want and really explore that inner child again.
Right. Maybe we should start something like that, Jackie, in Soul Center or something. Have a time where parents come and kids come and parents are supposed to do whatever the kids want.
Right?
Yeah, I do that all the time. I mean, even today. So today, this afternoon, we had some time, and my daughter's, one of her favorite things to do right now is to play Elvis charades. And so she has us take turns acting out one of Elvis's songs, and the rest of us have to guess what song it is. And then she said, we've been through the songs now. Let's do another thing. I'll put my fingers like this, and I'll control your arms with these fingers and your legs with these fingers. You're going to move like Elvis. Ready? And then she's, and then it was just so funny to her. She fell on the floor laughing repeatedly because I'm trying to, do what she wanted me to do with my arms and legs. And she just constantly was on the floor cracking up. And then she'd get back up and do a different one, because I would keep going until she told me to, until she switched it.
I love it.
And so I think there should definitely be, yes, I'm all for that. Yes,
that's so creative. And see, just out of nowhere, they just come up with ideas. They're just so innovative.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, who would think of that? I mean, that's awesome.
Started with the legs, and then she's like, put your arms down. Okay, these are going to be the arms now. These are your legs.
I love it. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. We should create something like that here.
It's like, that's seriously, I mean, I'm telling you the truth. That's what I do all the time. And whenever there's any time in the day, I'm like, what do y'all want to do with me? What do you want to do? And then if they don't want to do the same thing, then I go, okay, we've got 1 hour. So you get 30 minutes, you get 30 minutes, and then half the time, probably almost all the time, whatever one of them wants to do, the other one joins in with it the whole time anyway, and then wants that to be their time too, whatever it was that we were just doing.
Oh,
I'm going to guess that a lot of people don't do that, because we do that at the park too all the time. And so like over the summer, one of the favorite things to do was we were in an underwater world, and my daughter would be selling different foods like seaweeds and different sea plant foods, and my son and I would come to her store, and then we would talk about the other stores, and then she'd run off to a different place and she would be selling some other foods, and then she would sometimes be selling animal products, and then so that we could, and she'd be like, now you come and you tell me about it, and then I stop selling it, and and then you come back, and I, and so we were doing this stuff at the park, and I'm like all up on the playground equipment with them and stuff, and other parents are like, sitting on the bench while their kids play. And so anyway, I don't know if other parents do that a lot, but it's what I do all the time. And I think, yes, I think parents should do that.
It's so healthy. It's so healthy. And, and it gives, again, permission for children to really expand that creativity, where they don't feel embarrassed or limited, or, I shouldn't say this, or, if my parents says we can play, that's it. They have authority to just go and explore everywhere. And you're right. Parents look at playtime as a time to take a break. You go play, get energy out. This is time for mom to have adult conversation, and not blaming them or judging them, because if they see the story they're telling themselves about parenting, they need the break. They need the children to wear themselves out. They need a little bit of adult time. But if we can help them change a story about how they see it, they will totally get the way you are. Totally. I wish I would have when my children were younger.
And I think there has to be this, the way, trying to think which book, I'm trying to think of which book calls it that certain, I think it's the Nonviolent Parenting, calls it that certain quality of relationship. And like Jackie, I think I was talking about it last time, I think at our last meeting, how someone said they couldn't homeschool because they're on the edge already. Yes. And so and even like there's a Christmas song that I know comes on the radio that's a really popular Christmas song, the one about, and mom and dad can hardly wait for school to start again.
Yes.
I mean, how is it the normal thing that the parents are wanting their children to be away instead of wanting the children to be with them? And so I think that
I can totally relate to that, because I was there. I remember what that felt like. And when you're so adult focused on your things and what in your work and your stresses, children home, you get used to them not being home, and they're just a distraction, right? So they're just getting in the way of your normal routine of how you normally function. And we have so much stress. Again, that's the unconsciousness. It's like one more thing to do. I'm used to having you on weekends, but it's one more thing to do. And if we can help parents unburden themselves, then they can create space. They're so cluttered and congested with stress and lack and depression and anxiety and worry. If we can help kind of free and open and give them some space, maybe then they can invite that in, that knowledge, those possibilities, to see how play with your children. Some parents at the end of the day, they come home and they could barely get off the couch. They eat dinner, all they want to do is put on the TV, and they want to forget their day. They just want to escape. We have to help parents re-engage and make room and self-care, because I think if we open them up and they feel lighter, then they can relate to their children's joy and curiosity. So I think all of it is kind of that same thing. And I think parents, that playfulness that I have now I'm annoying my kids, because they're like 18 and they're like, Mom, grow up, Mom. Grow up. Because I tickle, and they're boys, so I tickle them, I jump in and I wrestle with them, and they're like, Mom, like I'm a fly. But it's never too late to regain that, right? I didn't have this consciousness when they were younger, but now that I do, it's to help the parents to liberate themselves, so then they can engage that.
There's a book, Jackie, I don't have it anymore because it wasn't one of my favorites, and we got rid of a lot of books that weren't our favorites, but it's I'm trying to think of what it's called. I'll have to check. I probably ordered it on Amazon. It's been probably 7 or 8 years ago now that I ordered it. But it's by a dad, and it has like all these different activities to do. It's like specific activities for people who are not like naturally playful. And so he's like talking about, if your daughter wants to play Barbie with you, then you get the Barbie, and he like goes through, and then it's got some like wrestling things about like I know one thing I think we did from that was fun was, I think it's like the parent stands and like has their arms out, and like, you can't get past me. You can't get past me. And the kids try to get past them and you're like, oh, no, oh, and then they get past, and so it's got some activities like that. I have to try to find it because for people who need some help, maybe, it might have some specific, like little game type things like that. And if the kids aren't used to playing with the parents or aren't used to playing anyway, because if they're at school all day, sit down and be quiet. You do what I say, when I say it, how I say it, and then you go home. And then they go home and they say, hey, you get in the car, you're going to piano, If they're not used to playing too, maybe they may, I don't know how easily it would come to parents and children who aren't ever used to just being free and playing and not having like a TV or video games or, or some activity being put on them. So maybe it could be like a starting point to like lighten the, like that you can't get past me, to like lighten it up, get them kind of in a playful kind of a, mood or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Very good point.
I'm trying to find that book by the dad. I'll tell you if I find it. And then Silas, earlier you were talking about the competition, and there's in the book Summerhill, Neil talks about that. There was like a football game that was going to go on, and the star player that everybody knew was like the total best player, total best player was sick and couldn't play. And so I believe it was the Summerhill team was going to play the team that had the sick star player. And so they said, oh, we heard, whatever the star player is, John. We heard John was sick, so we're taking out our best player so that it'll be more fair. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't care about the competition. But what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, in the nonviolent communication book, in the beginning of one of those, he talks about putting parents. I think it was a group of parents. He separated because he went and was talking with people. Are you all familiar with his book and his books and his work with Dr. Rosenberg?
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't taken the course, so I don't know that.
He's got Dr. Rosenberg has several books with. I know one of them has at least one exercise that I remember that he took the parents in, but he does this. He does different things he would go into like very, very violent situations, or not into the violent situation, but into situations with people who had severe physical violent things happening in different countries and things, and he would go and mediate and teach them nonviolent communication and stuff. But he also worked with parents, and I remember one of them was he took the parents and he separated parents in two groups. And he told one group, okay, you all imagine that your neighbor did such and such a thing, like with your tools or something like that. And I want you all to come up with the conversation that you're going to have with your neighbor about doing that with your tool. Like, let's say, left your toolbox out open in the rain, and your wooden handle on your hammer got wet and kind of ruined, and some things got a little messed up. How are you I want you all to come up with the conversation you're going to have with them. And then with the other group of parents, he told them, imagine that your child left your toolbox out in the rain. And he told them the same situation, but said, imagine that your child did that. I want you to come up with the conversation that you're going to have with your child. And then they came together, and he didn't tell them that they had separate, stories. And he had the ones who were told that their children did it, talk first. And the other team was just like, why you're going to talk like that to your neighbor, and then had the people tell about their neighbor, and they were like, and then he tells them, so here's what happened. You all were told your children were the ones, and you all were told you're talking to the neighbor. What do you think about that? So that's an activity that could be replicated with parents too, and do that same little thing.
Love it. Right. It really shines the mirror of that unconsciousness. It really does. Because people think, oh, I don't have a choice. You know, they're reactive. They're reactive. The point is you're reacting. You have the choice. You're limiting your choices, right? You're allowing your reaction. You're not responding to the moment. When it's our children, we want to respond. We feel the activation, but we take a moment, settle down. How are we going to do this? We don't do that with other adults. We allow our reactions to speak for us. And so it really does shine a light of like, you know, you do have a choice. You're doing it right now. If it was your child, it'd be one way. If it was your neighbor, it'd be another way. That's a beautiful example.
I might not be telling it exactly right. I'll check in the book and I'll type it out later exactly what it said in case it might be a better example than mine. I mean, it's not my example, but better than how I remember it whenever it was.
Wow.
So for parenting, when I have on what I think we should be doing, I have freedom to express feelings always, as long as it isn't physically harming anyone. And that, and one of the things like for the attachment parenting that those books talk about that I really like is allow kids to express their dissatisfaction with you or whoever, but focus on the words. Maybe they can't use certain words, but if they have the tone and they're expressing it like, I don't like how you took my book, you know, or something, then to not tell them, you can't talk with the tone like, I don't like, you know, but, oh, and they could actually say that, but let's say they said something that was, you know, well, you're always mean, you know, well, they can say, they can have the tone to express their anger at the time, but not say the, you know, maybe not say that the person is mean. They can say it feels like, you know, and then do the 3-part, you know, thing or whatever, but that the tone, if they may need to have a certain tone to express it. And always, if they want to cry, cry. And there's so much with the feelings in these my two favorite attachment parenting books. And I listed all these books out somewhere on here, and then Ray put them somewhere else that made more sense. But they talk about how children naturally start with anger, and that children need to learn how to go from anger to sadness, because that is the natural progression of feelings. And adults, I think there are probably plenty of adults who somehow got stuck in the not knowing how to go from anger to sadness, and they have a lot of examples of things to say to help facilitate that process of learning how to go to it. Like I remember, let's say, for example, if somebody says, you know, if somebody lost their favorite stuffed animal or something, they went to the beach and they left it and they're never going to get it back. And they're just, I hate that I left it, you know, and just mad or something. Oh, I know that must be so hard. They say that a lot. They have lots of, like, one of the books has pages of like, the child says this, mom says this, the child says this, mom says this, or the child says this, the dad says this, you know, to say like, that must be so hard. And it talks about matching the emotive feeling, sort of. And so not being completely like calm with no feelings, there's a way to match it. Anyway, but they've got a lot of examples about how to get them to go from that anger to the sadness, with just a couple of, you know, simple phrases so they don't stay in the anger. And that's super important to not stay in the anger. And also, as far as feelings, they talk about how we need to be able to, of course, instead of having shame, have guilt. And that often children will first have shame, and we need to help them know how to get to that. Guilt is the healthy feeling to have. And actually, they say in the book that guilt is the primary motivating feeling that drives human behavior, is guilt. Oh, I don't want to hurt them, so I'm going to be nice. Rather than, it makes me feel good to be nice. It talks about how guilt is the primary motivating. But anyway, that to have guilt is fine, but not to have shame. So, so I stepped on the cat's foot. I'm not a terrible person. I just made a mistake, and I feel sad about it that I did that. I have I can have guilt about that, but you know, I know that I'm not bad because I did that, you know, that kind of thing. And to we, you know, do what we can to help them with moving from shame to guilt and from anger to sadness. And I have for parenting, unconditional love and showing it, especially by no time out. That would be in the nose. But anyway, so unconditional love and showing it. Nonviolent communication, to use it and teach it. And to teach them how to be happy and look within, and teach, you know, yoga and meditation and things like that, and how to be healthy and what vegan foods to eat, and not screen time, healthy in every way, and how to help the earth be healthy, and right. How to be compassionate toward all living beings.
See, one thing that worked with Kimaya, she loves the wishing tree story. You know, because that story kind of taught her about her wishing child and her watching child, and how to get in touch with her own watching child. So she sees that as the purpose of meditation. And that we always have that wishing child within us too. So sometimes I remind her, you know, is it your wishing child talking or is it the watching child?
I wonder if we could take, because that is such a powerful story every time you tell it. I wonder if there's a way that we can, is there a way that we can write it again with a twist that makes it really applicable to like any child in the United States today? Any child could pick up and make it relatable to the typical child today, because it is such a powerful story that we can, if we can, I don't know, tell it in a way that's relatable to children, I think it will have the same effect.
Right. In fact, Indra Lahiri, who's on Basecamp, she interviewed me about that story. She wanted me to tell that story to her because she wanted to create an animation.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So we need to, you know, you can ping her on Basecamp.
What's her name?
Indra, Indra, Lahiri, Lahiri. She runs the Indraloka Sanctuary, Animal Sanctuary.
Okay.
In Pennsylvania.
Indraloka. I know where that is. Okay.
Yeah. So that one, I mean, that animation would be awesome, you know, if we had that. Because I know that even when I went to my Kimaya's kindergarten class, she made me tell that story to her friends.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could animate, especially with children, make it so relatable. I think
Right.
it's very, very powerful. And I also wanted to animate, because for the children, I had this idea of, and I'm telling you, I've been having epiphanies ever since I came back from Mexico. I have like epiphanies left and right about the story about the elephant, the human story, the true story. I think that if we could, I was thinking if we could put it in a children's book, or have an animated story about the story that's been told to us about it, and then kind of juxtapose it to, but when you look at the story, what is actually really happening, and showing the seeds growing, showing the light coming in and nurturing the ground, showing the elephant opening a pathway from a whole different perspective, so that children can see, if we look at it one way, the same thing could look something totally different. And if we can help children learn that discernment and the power of that discernment, so they can make educated decisions for themselves, I think those are the lessons to say, you know, because children believe everything their friends say, and it teaches them critical thinking also in a very applicable way to what we're talking about. So whenever we bring up, they can reference these stories if they have friends that talk about their vegan choices. They have these as reference points that they can use, that a child can then relate to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll see if my daughter is always wanting, she draws all the time, and she's really good at drawing. and both my kids are, but when I say different things, she's like, I want to make a book about that. I'll see if she wants to draw the pictures for that story.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome. That warms my heart. Can you imagine with the children's pictures? Like, come on, that's what we're talking about. Oh, I love it. Yay. All right, so I'm gonna review a few of Sailesh's things, because I've heard the story so many times, but to really how to put it in there, I'm gonna start working on that. Oh, there's gonna be so much fun. I love it.
Do you want her to wait until?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. You know the story. Let her inspire. She may inform how the story goes. I would rather work off her off of her inspiration.
She made up a song tonight. I was playing a song that Katie Kieran, who sings that Vegan World 2026 song, she put a song, I think recently on Basecamp is what it was. And I said, oh, I love it. If you ever want to use this, see their eyes, hear their cries, empathize, please use it. I don't want any credit or anything, but I thought of that earlier this year. And she said, oh, Jessica, do you write music? And I said, no, but I really make up songs all the time, and very silly songs, and all the time. And I'm always singing them. And my kids are like, okay, because I don't sing really well. So anyway, so then she wrote this, then she printed me on Facebook and sent me a note and said, I want you to listen to my newest song. There's a surprise in there for you. And she put it in there in the song. Oh. And then I love it. And then I played it. And then right after that, Abby went in a different room and made up a song about veganism, and she put it in a song too. And then she had me record it. So if we have time, I can play it later. But it's only like a minute. It's a short little song. But anyway, I'll ask her about it. She wants to know pictures.
Look at that creativity. It's just that climate healing. That's what I'm talking about. See that? That's inspiration. I love it. Oh, sorry, hold on. Sorry.
Jessica, I have to get going because I have to prepare for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of thing, we have to look at this from a different angle, right? So that's what I'm trying to do also, telling them. And actually the way we are looking at it now, it's not good.
Where you were looking at what?
Animal agriculture, and the way they're massaging the numbers so that it doesn't look so good. It doesn't look as harmful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is leading us towards oblivion. And basically, I think the way they are framing it is, we won't go vegan until 7 billion people die.
And what time frame are they saying this?
Well, now they're saying that we need to hit peak meat by 2030. So it's
2030.
Yeah, 2030. So by 2030, we would wipe out all the wild animals. So you really, you're wiping out all the wild animals, and then a lot of people are going to start dying, and then we're going to say, oh, let's stop eating meat. So that's unfortunately, that's the way we think we have to operate, right? That's the system we are in.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do something until we are forced to, right? And we're always looking for ways to patch it up so that we can continue doing what we're doing. So that's the situation we are in. So we have to. So I have to sort of frame it in a way that tomorrow people get it. That this is a serious issue. And I don't want the mainstream framing to continue. Yeah.
And we have to encourage people to look towards, again, critical thinking.
Right.
And stop looking above for the answers.
Right.
We have to really stop getting people to stop looking above for answers. And we have the answers. We have, within numbers and communities, we do have the power to make all the change we need. And people feel so helpless and so confused and overwhelmed. It's like, if you just sit and you listen and you just process this information, innately, you're going to know what's right.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so we just need to activate that in people to say, stop looking and stop being a victim to the system. You're not a victim. You know, the
Yeah, it's the
answers are out there.
same story we keep buying into, you know,
Yeah.
that we know that they lied about it here, they lied about it over there, they lied about it over there, but then they're saying they must be telling the truth over here. I say, excuse me.
Where it's convenient. Where it's
Right,
convenient.
right. It's like Charlie Brown, right? So you keep looking for the football in the same place. Anyway, yeah, I have to prepare that presentation.
Okay.
So I'm going to get going, okay? But you
Okay.
guys continue. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I too missed my son for the second time coming in for dinner. So, but I'm so glad we met anyway, because I was just itching to talk about this stuff anyway. So
Yeah.
this is such an incredible framework. I have a list of books that was on my reading list for my training that I think are going to be awesome to add to your list. So I'm going to get that together now over break and find, because I keep looking over to my library, because you're like, you know, that author. I'm like, I have that book, but I can't find it. It's somewhere. Like the Explosive Child, I think is a wonderful book for parents. Of course, my teacher, Dr. Shafali, and the Awakened Family. Also, I think Erica Christakis, her book, The Importance of Being Little, it's all about early childhood education and the impact on the child's brain, on early childhood, and how we really need to reframe what early childhood is, early childhood education is. So I have like a lot of those books that I just want to put together a list and just give as much information as we can. And do you want to touch base later and see when we want to meet again? Do you want to kind of take a poll of the group?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, sorry, I think like, I don't know, maybe we could also, maybe next time, one thing we could do is come up with a word for what we would call, I don't like the word school because of what school means now. And to me, like, and what I tell my kids is learning, we're learning, we're living, we're playing, it's, you know, it's all the same, you know.
I refer to them as learning environments. That's how we always refer to it as learning environment.
Environment, okay.
Yeah. Because then a park is a learning environment, a museum is a learning environment, your home is a learning environment. And the thing is, schools are no longer learning environments. They're institutions.
Right, and even homeschoolers, I'll hear say, do you go on field trips? You know, like, because that's what it was called when they were in school, if you went to a certain place, you know. Right. I just, every time that catches me so off guard, like, a field trip. You mean like we go out into the world to a place? We do that all the time, you know. That's what I'm thinking, you know, like. Yeah. And I know what they mean, and it was always called field trips, you know. When I was in school, we were going on a field trip, you know. But I just, like when we went to UNCC, I never would have thought, oh, field trip. This is just life. This is just what we're doing. Yeah. It wasn't. And like, it just shows. I mean, that's so much information right there. That tells me so. I already kind of could see it. And what did they do? Is they must be homeschooling. All they did was take the exact same structure and they're doing it at home. Yeah. And so when they decide, they take a certain amount of time during that learning to go out. So it is, they're just replicating that whole system where you are integrating learning as kind of a self-driven, self-motivated learning. So that's very different, because life is their school, as opposed to, you're not going to go to that edifice. We're just going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it here. Yes. Totally different. And it shows it, like, your approaches to learning environments and educating children. Mm-hmm. Well, I admire you. My goodness, had I had this wisdom when my children were younger, I'd be so like doing what you do right now. Your children are so blessed to have like this mom with this consciousness for them. I just know they're wonderful kids and they're going to do wonderful things. Just makes me so happy and optimistic. Like, we need to take this framework and really show parents what can be done. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited. Yes. Me too.
Awesome. Well, then I'll send you a list of books as soon as I get that, and then you'll take out I guess a feel for the group and see where we meet next. I really would like to meet soon after the holidays, though. I don't want to push it off too much.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to wait until January, or are you thinking like last week?
Like I was like the first week after like New Year's. Like if we could get something on the books now for like that first week, that'd be awesome. Because I don't want to wait anymore. I want to get started.
You're like, I'm so ready. We gotta do now. Yes. Yeah. I know. Yes. Let's do it. Yeah, we'll check and see.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. It was so good seeing you as always. I just want to give you a big giant hug and keep doing what you're doing. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. You too. So great to talk to you. Looking forward to next time.
Yes, absolutely. Have a blessed holiday season with your family. Enjoy.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.